Well, hi everyone, and welcome to this edition of ExecuNet Masterclass. I'm your host, Tony Vlahos, and my guest this hour is renowned career coach, Mr. Ford Myers. Whether you're applying for a new position or up for your annual review, talking about money with an employer might feel a bit awkward, but coming to terms that work for both sides is crucial. Ford joins us today to share insight that can help you master the rules of the negotiation game and make a quantum leap in your side. Welcome, Ford, to the ExecuNet stage. They are all yours.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. It's so nice to be here again, and I want to welcome everyone to the call. You know, this topic of compensation is a tough one. It causes a lot of people to get nervous, to be confused, to feel overwhelmed. It's one of those topics that we just don't ever get taught in school. We're not taught on the job. And a lot of people are simply mystified. They're confused and they're mystified by the whole subject. And they often have a nagging feeling inside that they're perhaps not making the amount of money that they should be making and not able to negotiate as successfully as they might like. So I really have a lot of empathy for people because it is, in fact, kind of overwhelming and confusing. And some of the topics I'm going to be discussing here today and some of the strategies I'll be sharing may seem a bit controversial to you. In fact, they might seem sort of out of the box. But I want you to understand that these strategies have been tried and true. They have been proven over many years working with hundreds, even thousands of clients. Now, do these strategies work every single time? Of course not. But after learning the field, studying everything available on the subject, and practicing this for decades, I can honestly say that the strategies we're going to share here today are the best of the business. That's the best that's available, and I believe that if you stick to these strategies and actually commit to them and use them and try them out, that you may be very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised, with the results that you can get. So the question I have for everyone on the line is, why is it that so many people have trouble negotiating for their compensation? You know, it seems that we have no trouble negotiating for a car or negotiating for a house, but when it comes to our own compensation, it gets a lot more complicated, doesn't it? Why? It's because we have a psychological layer. It has to do with our self-perception and our self-esteem. It has to do with how we value ourselves and all kinds of internal messages that we tell ourselves. So I can understand why someone might find it much, much easier to negotiate for the price of a house or a car than they can the price of their own compensation. So let's take a look here, and you'll notice that the subtitle of this topic today is the rules of the game. Negotiating your compensation, the rules of the game. Now, why do we call it a game? The answer is this. It is a game. Negotiating for salary and compensation is a game. There are rules, there are guidelines, there are structures to follow, just like in any other game. If you were to sit down with a very experienced cards player, like poker, for example, and if you were not very experienced, you would tend to lose the game because they know the rules, they're very polished and practiced, and you're not. And so in this game, you want to be as prepared and practiced as possible before you go into any negotiations. So it is the rules of the game. It's the kind of thing where if we treat it as a game, it can actually be fun and it can actually be very, very rewarding. Now, I know that compensation is a very serious topic. It has to do with our standard of living. It has to do with our family and our family's welfare. And I understand all that. But honestly, if you think of it as a game, you'll actually have some fun with it and have a lot more success instead of being always so nervous and overwhelmed. So the point I want to make starting off is that you need to begin your negotiation actually before you get to the interview. Most people think of negotiation that it happens well after the fact, after you've been through a couple of interviews and so forth, and that's true. However, the negotiation actually, in my opinion, starts much sooner. I believe that you need to start out the negotiation from the very first contact, because the minute the company contacts you or the recruiter contacts you, you're going to be setting a certain impression or a precedent. They're going to be getting a certain feeling about you and an opinion about you, which they form